what is it that you do? My life was great till you added colors. Like the moon needs the sun, we don't care about the others. You set my world on fire. You're my heart's desire. I just wanna love you.
Hey guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and make some carne con chile and beans. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how my mom makes it and the recipes. So if you guys are interested in learning how we make it, just go ahead and keep on watching. So here is how it will look at the end, and I love to top it off with cheese, and it's just so delicious. So if you guys want to learn how to make it, just keep on watching. So first, I want to start off by showing you guys what exactly you will need to make this. So first, I have here 7 chiles. Of course, this is up to you guys. If you guys prefer it less spicy, just add a little bit less. Or if you guys actually like it really spicy, add more. But I have 7 of them. I have 4 tomatoes, 2 garlic cloves. Of course, I have the meat here. I'm using, it's called in Spanish, trocitos de puerco. So that's what we like to use for it. And I got 2 pounds of it. And then I have some oil. And of course, here I have the beans. And 2 things I just don't have here, of course, is the salt for seasoning, and I did add some oregano onto it. So those 2 are just missing here. So the first thing that I'm going to start by doing is just cutting the meat a little bit more, just because the pieces they gave us are a little bit big. So I am going to be cutting them into smaller pieces, just because you don't want them to be too big for when you add it with the beans and the salsa and everything. So you just want to have them to be at a good size. So as I'm cutting it also, I am separating like the nasty part of the meat, or like the fat and stuff like that. So make sure you do take that off from the meat. I personally don't like to leave it on. So if you like to leave it on, you can definitely do that. But I personally just like to remove it from the meat. So here I'm pretty much almost done cutting up all of my meat, and so the next thing that I did once I was done cutting it, I put it in a strainer and I cleaned all of the meat, so I gave it a good wash with water and just made sure it was nice and clean before cooking it. So now you want to add some oil onto your pan, and you want to turn it on, that way it gets hot. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and add my tomatoes in this pan here, and then I'm going to be adding some water onto that so it can go ahead and cook the tomatoes for the salsa. So now you just want to go ahead and turn on your tomatoes so that way they can go ahead and cook while making everything else. So by this time your oil should be nice and hot, so I'm going to go ahead and start adding the meat here in my pot. That way it can go ahead and start cooking. So now once you add the meat, you want to move it from time to time because you want it all to go ahead and cook fully. So just make sure you go ahead and give it a good mix from time to time. So here is how it looks. So this is just after adding it, and then 10 minutes after, this is how it actually now looks. It does actually tend to get a lot of water out from the meat, so this is what you will see here for about 10 minutes after, and it still needs a little bit of time, but my tomatoes seem to be ready, so I'm gonna go ahead and start making the salsa now. So for my salsa, pretty much all you need is the chiles, the garlic cloves, and the tomatoes. So I'm gonna go ahead and just add them here into my blender. And I'm gonna go ahead and also put in my tomatoes that are nicely cooked now into my blender, and then I'm gonna be adding also some water onto the blender. You don't want to add too much water. I added about like I believe it's like 1 ounce of water, so that's what I will show you here, and that's pretty much all you need, so you don't need to add too much water. And so the last thing you will need to add to your blender is some salt for seasoning. So after about 15 to 20 minutes, this is now how my meat looks. So as you guys can see, is nice and crispy, and it's pretty much done, you guys. So now I'm gonna go ahead and remove the meat from here, and I'm gonna go ahead and add the beans. That way I can go ahead and start smashing them here in the pan. So once you finish adding all of the beans onto your pan, you just want to add some water or some juice from the beans, which I actually like to add to mine. And then all you need to do is just start smashing your beans. So at this point, once I actually smashed them, I realized it wasn't enough beans. So I went ahead and added some more beans onto the pan and a little bit of more juice from the beans. So as you guys can see, my beans are pretty smashed. So now I'm gonna go ahead and add my meat into the pan, and I'm also going to be adding my salsa. So once you add the meat and the salsa, just make sure you give it a good mix. That way the salsa can get onto all of the beans and the meat. So this is how it now looks after adding the meat and the salsa and mixing it all together. So one thing I just didn't show you guys that I added to my meat was the oregano. So at this point, you guys can go ahead and add the oregano, and now I'm just gonna go ahead and put on the lid and just let this boil for about 10 to 20 minutes, and after that, this will be ready. Alright you guys, so I have it nicely served here on my bowl. It is ready to eat, and the last thing that I'm gonna go ahead and add to mine is queso. I love to add queso to mine, especially Mexican queso fresco, and it is just so delicious with the cheese. As you guys can see, I love to add a lot of cheese to mine, and you can eat this with chips or tortillas. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe, and don't forget to subscribe down below if you're not already, and don't forget to go ahead and like this video if you guys would like to see more of these.